Hi, and welcome to Living History. My name is Mary Ann Tashko, and today it's my pleasure to be interviewing Mrs. Frances K. Prince, a former City Councilwoman. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad that you could be with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Good. We want to find out some things about your life and about your experiences in the Canal Valley. And when did you arrive here?
My husband and I moved here on July 3rd, 1968.
And what was it like?
Small. We bought a home the first day that we looked at homes here, and it was a home already constructed, and we had sold our home in Riverside, so we moved in about 2 days later. And Lynn Road dead-ended at Avenida de los Arboles. It did not go all the way through. You could travel Lynn Road at almost any time of the day and never see another car. I think there were about 27,000 people here then.
What are some of your earliest memories of the Canal Valley?
Mostly connected with school, to be quite honest, because our children were quite young then, and in grammar school. And my first memories are PTA meetings and school events.
How would you describe Thousand Oaks today?
Today, I think it's a lovely community. It's a little crowded, more so from my perspective because I remember when it was so much emptier. But I think it's grown beautifully. I like the way that it's developed, and of course the thing I like most about it is something that I have found to be fairly constant over the years, and that really is the people that live here. I've been involved in the community in a lot of different avenues, and I have found people to be the most important asset to Thousand Oaks, and I don't think that's changed a lot over the years.
What would you change, if you could, about Thousand Oaks if you had a magic wand?
You know, I've never given that any thought. I've never given that any thought about any large change. I suppose I can't even think of what I would change. So
Like it just,
I'm going to pass on that.
just the way it is, just the way it is. When did you decide to become involved in the community as a leader? And what made you decide?
What made me decide? My entry into what I would call a very active community life outside of the school or my home. I was not a working mother. I stayed at home at the time. Is the same that has spurred a lot of people in Thousand Oaks to become active. There was a development that I was unhappy with that was going to take place in our neighborhood. We had bought out in the Wildwood area, and they had these large, beautiful brochures that showed many, many thousands of acres of parkland, and they had those in very large green areas on these brochures, and very small little developments that were going to take place in the future. Myself and the other 182 homeowners in Wildwood relied on those when we purchased our homes and believed them. And lo and behold, a year after we moved in, they were going to build 500 attached units in an area that they had told us was parkland. So we organized into a homeowners association, the Wildwood Park Homeowners Association. Out of that, there were 2 city council people and 4 planning commissioners that came from that homeowners association. So we all became very active over a period of years. We fought the project before the city and eventually lost, filed a lawsuit against the developer, and that lawsuit was settled out of court, as most are, much to our satisfaction. And that land is now parkland.
Oh, that's
The
great.
developer provided that 20 acres of parkland. It's where the Wildwood baseball fields and the soccer fields, tennis courts, all of that was part of that lawsuit.
And so that was your initiation?
That was my initiation. I learned how to speak in front of the city council and lobby my legislators. And
how many terms were you
on the city council?
The city council? What years?
I was on the Planning Commission from 72 to 76, and I ran for the council in 1976. And I ran for 2 terms and then retired from that endeavor. And so my last year on the city council was in 1984.
Is there a personal accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Well, the one that people talk about when they introduce me the most is a nice one, but not the one that I would choose. I was the first. It was the first woman elected to the city council, and I was the first woman mayor, so that was a first. But as far as my activities on the council, there are 3 things that I've always talked about that were very important to me and that I feel very good about. One is the construction of the Thousand Oaks Library. In fact, I still have at home. I was cleaning out a drawer the other day. I have a stack of petitions tied in a yellow ribbon that some individuals brought down to the city council petitioning for a new city library. And I kept that. I became very active in the effort to build a new city library. I feel very good about that. I like the building and I like what it does for the community. The second is I served for quite some time on the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and prior to that, the Santa Monica Mountains Comprehensive Planning Commission. Marvin Browdy was the chairman of that commission. One of the actions at the commission level was to make a set of recommendations, an A list and a B list, of purchases by the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area when that was formed. It was in the process of being formed by Congress. And it was largely through my efforts that an area called the Danielson Ranch, that's Rancho Sierra Vista, was included on that A list. It was a 1-vote margin to include that property. And by a set of fortuitous circumstances, that piece of land became available for purchase immediately after the recreation area was funded and was the very first purchase with that money. And that land is all now parkland. And I feel very good about that. And the third is COSCA. I was the first chairperson of the Canal Open Space Conservation Agency, which is a joint powers authority with the Canal Rec and Park District, and feel very good about that. Open space has been very important to me, and I think it's one of the nicest attributes that Thousand Oaks has.
What are the challenges that you see facing Thousand Oaks today?
Well, the challenges that are the same as they are in almost any community: transportation, a good economic base for a community, good schools, maintaining all of those things that we have and improving on them. Those are all long-term challenges, and they last forever. You don't ever solve those totally. So those are always there. I think the short-term challenge is to heal some divisions that I see that have occurred in the city over the last few years. Used to be, when I was on the council, we used to think we had a rough time on the council because we would have arguments and disagreements and things of that nature. And I look back now and I see how relatively benign it was, because there was always that large reservoir of mutual respect among the council members, even when you thought they were absolute idiots for voting the way that they voted. You respected them as an individual, and you respected their motives and where they came from. I don't think that is the case anymore in the city council, and I think that is a significant challenge for a city, because I think it affects the way the citizens view their government. It makes it a little harder to develop a collegial agreement on important things for the community. So I think that's probably, in the short term, a significant challenge for the city, and one I think it probably will do just fine with.
Do you have a personal model?
No.
No.
I have, I guess, like everyone else, a sense of values that are very important to me, and I try to adhere to them, because I have found if I don't, on those occasions that I have not, I've seriously regretted it, made myself miserably unhappy for short periods of time. And so I have that set of personal values, but no, I don't have, I don't reflect in that way. I like doing things. That has been a part of my nature since I have a feeling for what I was like. And that's what I like to do. So I just find things I like to do, and then I concentrate on that.
You have a very full resume. I was reviewing it before we had our interview, and you've been an attorney.
Yes,
and,
I worked as an attorney for about 15 years.
How would you like history to remember you?
Well, frankly, I don't expect history to remember me. but I would like my family to remember me. And I'd like them to, look through the photographic albums, and or I guess it won't be that anymore, will it? I guess it will be the digital printouts from computers or whatever they're going to look at photographs with. And I just like them to remember that I tried to make Thousand Oaks and as good a place as I could help to make it be, and that's important to do in any community that you live in. It's kind of like an extended family, and that I stood up for those things that I believed were important, and I hope my family members do the same.
Are there any questions that I didn't think to ask?
Well, I can think of probably 30 or 40, and I just assume we didn't ask any of those questions, so no.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure having you with us.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being with us
Thank
so
you.
much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we just...